matter where you're going, here's a place where you can take comfort in the knowing that whether if you come to stay a while or just passing through, this door is open to you. Come and let's be silent. Come and share a hug. Come, let's pray together. Come love and be loved. From the blissed out to the turned out, from the pampered to the abused, this door is open to you. Come on in, come on in, come on in, come on in. The God in us recognizes the God in you, the God in you. Whether you're black or white or gay or straight, Christian, Buddhist or Jew, this door is open to you.
Good morning, Claremont Center for Spiritual Living. How are you this morning? Woo! Happy 2 days after the 4th of July. Woo! I don't know if you know or not, but we're having a little potluck next door. Y'all know that, right? You're all going to stay for food. Yes, yes. And even if you didn't bring anything, I'm sure we have enough to share. So please come and enjoy with us right after service in Holmes Hall. All right, well, I'm Reverend Tracy, delighted to have all of you here. I want to wave to the people online. We have some viewers that watch from home every week, so we're happy to have you as part of this community of love and support and reminder. And what do we remind ourselves of? That life is good, even when it doesn't look that way, and that we, especially as a community, can always find a way forward. There is always a possibility, a hope, an opportunity for us to grow and expand and thrive, because that's the very nature of life, and that is our very nature. So thank you all for being here this morning to share in that. We have a great program. All right, we'll start with our practitioner on platform is Patty Powers. Reminder that your practitioners love to give you prayer support. It is their gift on Sundays. Tap them on the shoulder and say what you'd like support for, or even just a little pause in your day to get centered. They're really, 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 really good at that, really good at that. And I know for myself that when I get just a wee bit, let's just call it frazzled. There are other words, but we'll call it frazzled. It's always good to reach out and have somebody remind you of the greater truth. So that's what your practitioners are here for. They're happy to do that for you anytime, but especially on Sundays. And we have some great music. We've got Jeff on keyboards. And we welcome back the Jacksons. All right. Before we start, I just want to take a little extra minute and give a big thank you to our sound/techie team, which today is Ed Graff in the back. Thank you, Ed. Gets us up and running so they can see us online, gets everything up here set up, moves my flowers for me. It's awesome. He does everything. Yes, we love our volunteers. All right, so let's start by getting centered as we do. This is an opportunity for you to turn off your phones. We encourage spiritual contact here, but it doesn't usually come via the cell phone. So you can turn those off, make them silent. Clear your laps, clear your minds. Wherever you're sitting, just sit. I invite you to close your eyes and let the sound of the bowl take you within. For there is something within us that knows truth, that knows joy, that knows beauty. And it is from this place that we live our best life and that we remember our oneness with all things.
And in this oneness, we feel the presence of each other. We feel the presence of love and joy and God. So let's just take a minute and feel that connection. allowing this collection to this power, to this presence. We know that today is a fabulous day. We know that today is fun and friendly. And we bless everyone in this room, everyone watching this video, everyone that we come into contact. We know that they feel just a little bit better for having seen us. And so we just let it go. And now we begin. My reading today is from Ernest Holmes and C. Lamar. And I'm not sure what year it's in, but he's talking about the story of the prodigal son. So there's a couple references, just go with it. The image of eternity is engraved upon time. The boundless concept of the infinite presses against the finite. The abundance of the universe so flows that out of its flow we draw our limitations. And there is never any dualism anywhere. Never, not for one split second. And that is why the Father didn't argue with the Son. And he said, I'll get up and go back home. And he was filled with self-condemnation. But the Father saw him far off. And this is what Trower calls the reciprocal action between the universe and the individual. As we return to us, it turns to us. Because we are turning to it, it is turning to us at the level of our turning to it. Don't ever forget that, for it is one of the greatest secrets of our own mysticism. What thou seekest, thou beest. And so the son throws himself down and says, I've done all these horrible things. But Papa didn't argue. Plotinus said, if I were to personify the infinite, I would say, I do not argue, I contemplate. And as I contemplate, I let fall the forms of my thought, that mirror of that which he did not say was an illusion, but that had no mind of its own. You see, God didn't say, where have you been? Where's the money I gave you? Why are you sick? It serves you right. This is not what God would say, for God is the Father. But he did say, I haven't seen you for a long time, and I'm so happy. So let's go in and have a bath and rest, and then have a party. Jesus is talking about God and our human relationship to the infinite, that which withholds nothing from the indefinite of its limitless store. For it is only the finite that has wrought and suffered. The infinite lies stretched in smiling repose, Emerson said. Our poverty enriches us if we understand it. Limitation proves the infinity, and bondage alone is freedom because the universe is one system and only one. Let us stretch our imagination. Let us stretch our intellect way out against the horizons of our previous experience. And in the golden glow of the setting sun, against the eastern sky, alight with hope and many-colored hues of the rising sun, coming across the mountains to spill its light and warmth into the valley and wake the desert lands into the newness of life and bring hope to man. Thank you. Please welcome up Larry and Rhonda Jackson.
Thank you, Patty. Good morning, everybody. It's good to be here. This first song that we have to share with you, we wrote about this time last year. And it just seemed very fitting for a 4th of July weekend. The name of this song is called Always Free.
It's a gift I give to me. I'm standing at the crossroads. I choose the view I see. The joy, the smiles, the laughter, complaints and grumbles leave. When the choices that you make are those of love, and the energy created lifts you up. The world is transformed for us all. Standing at the crossroads, I choose the view I see. The joy, the smiles, the laughter, complaints and grumbles leave. It's a gift I give to me. I'm standing at the crossroads. I choose the view I see. The joy, the smiles, the laughter, complaints and grumbles leave.
Thank you.
Fabulous, fabulous. Yeah, you just sat down and wrote a song, you know, there it is. Love it. All right, we light our candle today for freedom. Freedom to be, the freedom to choose, the freedom to do, the freedom to think and believe in ways that support life. We're always at choice, and it's good to remind ourselves of that. All right, so this week is Pick a Page. We are looking at random ideas from several New Thought authors and talking about what in the world they're talking about, because sometimes when you read these guys, you go, huh? So we're here to get rid of that question mark on your forehead. I want to ask first, just because I had put it in the e-blast, because I know some of you read the e-blast, it said if you had a favorite quote, we could also incorporate that into our conversation today. So if anybody has something they've read or they've heard or a quote that you would like to be elaborated upon, we can do that as well. So I'll just ask real quick, anybody bring anything? Diane has one. What do you have, Diane?
My favorite is be still and know that I am God.
So Diane's favorite is be still and know that I am God. So that phrase has, that quote has a lot of pieces to it. And I think that it's a reminder for us to pause from all of the external stimulation that we are surrounded by all the time, and to stop moving for just a moment, stop our thoughts from racing ahead as they do for just a moment, and to remember, to know from within, to know in a spiritual sense, to have an absolute conviction that there is something of this life that is greater than we are, and that we are of that. We are made of that. We are from that. In other words, all that we are is all that life is. And it's hard to remember an abstract idea like that as we're racing to and fro getting things done in our very busy lives, because we do have busy lives. We're in relationship, we have jobs, we've got places to go, things to do. And sometimes it's just a good idea to pause and recenter, to pause and get grounded, to pause and remember that where I come from is a place of love. What I am born of is an activity of kindness and compassion. That's what informs me. That's what creates the form that is me. This love, this kindness, this compassion. And when I do that, when I know that I am God, not the I am, the ego me, but the I am in capital letters, that sense of spirit and divinity that we all touch into, when I remember that, it changes the way that I am in the world. It changes how I speak, how I listen. It changes what I do, what I choose to do, and what not to do. So that be still and know that I am God. Be still and know. Be the truth of who you are. Remind yourself of that truth. It is a great way to move out into the world from your strongest place, from your highest consciousness, from your most loving self. Thank you, Diane. All right, we have 4 books. We have God's Dictionary. We have Ernest Holmes, the Holmes Papers, Volume 2. These are taken from his talks. We have Mingling Minds by Irvin Seal. This is commentary on Phineas Parkhurst Quimby. And I will tell you that Quimby is probably one of the points of origin of New Thought in the United States. He took an interest in, I forget Mr. Mesmer's first name, but you know Mesmerized. Franz Mesmer from France. Franz from France. He brought this idea of mind over matter, of mind and body, that you could convince the mind to do something in spite of what the body would normally do, in spite of your senses. So we know from that hypnotism, this idea that you can speak directly to the subconscious and change someone's behavior or belief or actions. So Quimby said, this is great, but you don't have to be hypnotized in order to use your mind in order to change your world, your personal world, the world at large. So he used this as a healing process, as a mental healing process. He treated patients. He cured physical illness, mental instabilities. He saw clients all the time and was very successful at it, and his ideas that are part of the foundation of New Thought. So we have a commentary on his teachings, and then we have Eric Butterworth in The Flow of Life. You probably know Eric Butterworth from the title, Spiritual Economics. Thank you, Spiritual Economics. I knew somebody knew it. Abundance thinking in the most spiritual way possible. All right, so we have books 1, 2, 3, and 4. I need somebody to call out a number, 1 to 4. 3, talking about Quimby. Anybody call me a page number below 139? 12. All right. It's one giant paragraph. I will not read the whole thing, so give me 1 second here. Well, a little bit of history. Quimby was a practicing mesmerist. He traveled with Lucius Berkmar through the small towns of Maine and New Brunswick, lecturing and giving exhibitions on mesmerism, or we would say hypnotism. Lucius kept a daily journal, and on one day he writes, Quimby has been doing miracles. He has cured a man that couldn't walk nor speak. In the next chapter, we shall discuss Quimby's first experiment with Lucius. You may or may not hear that, depending on which page you pick. Let's see. Okay, so Quimby saw his ideas take form and concluded that man had the power of creation. Therefore, man is himself the cause of his experience. There's no God to punish him. His reward and his punishment are in himself. Scorn and rancor are not possible to the mind that knows this. On the contrary, delight and enthusiasm are its constant content. The person whose delight is in this law of things knows that envy and scorn and all their... It's not often I find a word I don't know how to pronounce. Pernicious? Pernicious. Envy and scorn and all their pernicious cousins are forms of psychological self-denial. So we're talking about this idea that there's no outside force saying good, bad, you're evil, you're okay, you shouldn't have done that. That's all within us. There's not a punishment outside. It's all within us. And don't we actually tear ourselves apart a lot? Criticizing and undermining and demeaning. And some of those voices come from people that we grew up with. But the truth is we have control over what goes on in here. And so our spiritual growth, our spiritual call is to listen to what we're saying and decide if we really want to say it. And if we're feeling ourselves scornful or envious, if we're in judgment on something out there, what we're really called to do is to remember that if I am in charge of how I think and what I believe to be true, why would I envy anyone anything? Anyone else's good simply demonstrates to me that good is possible. Someone else's wonderful fortune is telling me that good fortune is possible. Now, if I think in a limited way, I'm going to say, well, why not me? How come they always get all the good stuff and I never get any good stuff? And, those rich people and why do those corporations, we can blame anybody for anything, and we do. But the truth is, it's all possible. And what we have control over is what we look at, what we look for, and what we appreciate. So if I can appreciate that you have beautiful musical talent, I don't have to have it for myself. I don't even have to be envious. I can just enjoy it. It's part of this beautiful universe. Your music is part of this universe. Your ability to recite Shakespeare from memory is part of this beautiful universe, even if that's not my skill. No envy, no scorn, no judgment, just my personal choice. Because when I do that, I can take delight in the world. And wouldn't you rather live in a state of delight than a state of depression? Go like this. Yes, you would. Okay, just checking. All right, 1, 2, 3, or 4? 2. Okay, 2, and then we'll do 4. Page number up to 217. 77 is a great number. Change the track of time. So remember, these are Ernest Holmes speaking different small groups and lectures and things like that. Let me see real quick here. All right, a great friend of Ernest Holmes was the journalist Cobina Wright, who wrote of society, doings, and people. This great lady was enthralled with Ernest's beliefs, and in September 1958, she interviewed him on prayer and reported his answer in a column with her byline appearing in the Los Angeles Herald and Express, later known as the Herald Examiner. Side note, that was my grandmother's favorite paper. She was very sad when it disappeared. The article was dated September 25th, 1958, and was entitled, How to Pray Told by Church Founder. Dr. Holmes' words will follow. We all believe in prayer, and naturally we hope our prayers will be answered. But let us ask a few simple questions. What is prayer? To what do we pray? Where do we pray? And how do we pray? Well, that about covers the thing about prayer, right? It's self-evident that no matter how sublime, prayer is an act of the mind based on the belief of a power greater than itself, which responds to it. Prayer is the approach we make to this power through our thinking and believing. Where do we pray? Jesus gave us the answer when he said, the kingdom of God is at hand. We already live in it. Jesus had prayed in the temple since he was a child. He had also prayed by the wayside. He found God everywhere. God is right where we are. God is always there, closer than our very breath. But the real where we pray must be within ourselves. We cannot jump away from ourselves any more than we can jump away from our shadows. Our prayers are within our minds, and therefore there's no place to go, as though we might find God more in one spot than in another. This idea that God is not outside of us, that there is not the man in the sky and the people that we are, and this great divide in between, some corners would call blasphemy. And yet, the point that he is making is that the prayer that we do, this connection we have, this sense of greater power that we tap into, is not something away from us. If we truly believe that God is all there is, if we really teach that the energy of life is the energy of all things, including us, then there's no place to go to, nothing to reach out for, no one to call up. It's all here. And all we're doing is making sure that our connection to that power is clear. And what gets in the way of that connection? Our belief that we're not good enough. What else gets in the way? We believe what other people tell us about ourselves. What else gets in the way of believing that we have the power to create our world? Oh, I don't know, advertising, media, anybody that thinks we need to do something else in order to be better, prettier, shorter, taller, thinner, whatever. So Holmes is saying that prayer is a process by which we tap into the divinity within, we tap into the power of life in a clear and concise way, perhaps with a sense of intention or direction, wanting to accomplish or get something or become something more, but allowing life itself to simply move us in that direction. Not asking, not begging, not pleading, not bargaining, but simply opening to and allowing the energy of life that is already here to flow through us cleanly, minus all the outside limits that we put on ourselves. Okay, I heard a 4, which is Eric Butterworth in The Flow of Life, so I need a page number before 107. I heard 26. Sorry, Johnny. We'll catch you on the next side. The reality of affluence. In a time when the world is facing the grim specter of lack, there is a great need to understand the omnipresence of divine substance. There is little question that people can fail and even go hungry in their experience of life. But the great truth of the reality of affluence is that there is a legitimate abundance for every person which he can and must claim for himself. And that lack of any kind in the human experience is the result of some kind of obstruction of the free flow of the creative process. Now, I want to talk about that for a minute. In spiritual terms, there's infinite abundance, and that belongs to all of us. In the material world, there are many systems in place that create this obstruction of the free flow of the creative process. And truth is, it's people who have created the systems that create the obstructions from people understanding and being able to live a healthy and full life. And so, as members of society, we do have an obligation to act in support of life in any way that we can, starting right where we are. Sometimes that means, bringing a donation that goes to the food bank that helps our community. Sometimes it means pounding the sidewalks and being an activist, going door to door, asking people to vote for ways in which we can better support our extended family. Sometimes it means simply pausing and remembering for ourselves that whatever is happening in my life that feels like lack, there's another perspective that will allow me to see the gift, the path, the way forward, the way of expansion, because that is never denied. The way of expansion is never denied to us. It simply awaits our recognition. So to understand the reality of affluence is to know that at its core, in capital R reality, we are abundant. Life is abundant. There is more than enough for all. And where we see that not showing up in our daily lives, that is our call to action. That is our call to stand for what we believe in. If I really believe abundance is true, then I know that it's true for you, and it's true for you, and it's true for the guy on the corner. And when I know that, I act differently. Right? Remember, it's our spiritual knowing which creates the way in which we interact with the world. So if you're feeling a sense of lack, if you're seeing something that looks like lack, then the call is to see in a greater way and to move accordingly. For we know that prayer is active. Okay. 1, 2, 3, or 4? 1. Pick a page.
27.
Okay. We like 7s today. Communicate. So this great book is by Susan Corso. It's Divine Definitions for Everyday Enlightenment. So it's a way of looking at words from a spiritual perspective. So the breakdown of the parts of communicate, commune is the same as common, or common to many, and facere, to make. So to make common is to communicate, to make common. Everyone knows that communication is the key to successful relationships. Go to any bookstore and you'll learn how Martians and Venusians can learn to speak with one another. Why, if we know that this ability is key, don't we take the time to learn how to do it? Communicate comes from the root word common and implies to many. If I say the word spoon to a room full of people, each person could easily call to mind a picture of a spoon. Will it be sterling silver or a wooden spoon? Will it be solid or with slats for sherbet or for grapefruit? I want to refer you back to the word assume because it sheds light on what is so difficult about communicating. When I say spoon, a pretty neutral word, I tend to assume that you know what kind I mean. And what if I assume that you don't? Likely, there will be more words of explanation, even simple ones, that eventually will both get to a picture of the same kind of spoon. Let's up the stakes, shall we? Try it with the word love. You may have to explain for a long, long time, but once it's common knowledge to those you love, it will mean the world to them. Ask, how can I have a common interaction today? I think one of the things that we suffer from a lot in society is a sense of isolation, a sense of not being understood, of not being seen and heard. We think we know what we're talking about, but obviously they don't get it, whoever they are. Or they're talking about crazy stuff and I know better. Really, what we're talking about when we're talking about communication is to make the connection of like meaning, to really understand what they're describing. What kind of spoon are they talking about, even if it's called politics, right? What kind of spoon are they talking about if it's called love? Or if it's called kindness? Or if it's called, I don't know, money? What does that mean? What does that mean? I know my communication skills can always be improved. I choose to use simple words and explain myself where I must with patience and compassion. That means we also have to listen with patience and compassion if we're truly going to communicate with each other. Okay, next one. 2. Page number 88. All right, we're in the same chapter, Change the Track of Time. All right. Two ideas here. There's one about money and there's one about big and little. What's your choice? Money. We're so predictable. I know many people who say they will treat for substance and supply, but not for money. But the subjective image is there so that in treating for substance and supply, they hope they'll get some money. When they wanted wine, Jesus said, this is the way to get wine. When they wanted money, he said, go and get that fish over there, when they wanted more fish. And he said, cast your net there. There's nothing in the universe that denies us anything unless that which we affirm denies the nature of the universe in which we live. In other words, if we understand how things work and work with it, we'll get somewhere. If you understand how gravity works, then you know that water is not going to run uphill without a lot of extra effort, and you can build your well accordingly, right? I wouldn't say your well. I was thinking more your water tower, but that's different. Okay, I'm back to the book. Okay, there's nothing in the universe that denies us anything unless that which we affirm denies the nature of the universe in which we live. And if it does, there's nothing going to come back. That which affirms the allness is the allness affirming its own being. I don't think there's anything in the world that isn't all right to treat for. There might be some things that perhaps aren't worthwhile in the light of a larger experience, but perhaps they're all right. What's he saying? We can have what we want, whatever that want is, because whatever our hearts desire is part of our reason for being here. In other words, we want the individual things we want because we are individuals, and there's nothing that can't be asked for as long as we know that in asking for it, we're not hurting ourselves or anyone else, and that it's all possible, right? I mean, I listen to a lot of books on tape when I'm driving or on vacation or whatever, and a lot of times the storyline is about somebody growing up in poor circumstances who has a dream to be a dancer, to be an artist, to be something that doesn't look like anything in the small, rural, poor community around them that the story takes place in, right? And how crazy is it to think you're going to be a dancer when you're stuck on a farm somewhere in the middle of Montana and your dad's not real enthralled with the idea? What we want is of the heart. When we want something from our own hearts, the way to get there is included, right? The oak tree is in the acorn. You have a seed of an idea. The way to make it happen is in there. As long as we continue to move forward, as long as we continue to understand that the supply is infinite, there is a way, whether we see it or not, and that anything outside telling us otherwise has no power within. Now, as kids, we don't know that. And some of us as adults, we don't know that either. But that's why you're here, right? Is to know something greater. Is to know the best of yourself. Is to realize the power that you do have. Is to find a way to move in and of your own heart so that you can then be your best self in the world. If no one heard your music, that would be so sad. Because your music does so much. If no one ever heard you play, Jeff, it would be so sad because the way you play is just out there. Well, you're out there anyway, but the music itself, you know. But you see, we each have that. And we appreciate it about each other. That's how we're meant to live. That's the abundance of life that we are meant to enjoy. Okay. 1, 2, 3, or 4? 3. Back to Quimby. Pick a page. 87. The two worlds. All right, let's see. The ancients understood this process. I'm trying to figure out what the process is we're talking about. Okay, so basically, the thrust of life is always forward. We have desires and ambitions, but many barriers and frustrations build up. Okay, I'm backing up to page 85, sorry. It's a little too out there. We have desires and ambitions, but there are many barriers and frustration that builds up. Anger, envy, and other ugly emotions can follow. It is then when one is at his wit's end and the Christ or the deep self or the subconscious, whatever you call it, intervenes to help us. Everyone remembers his days in school when he or she wrestled over a problem at night, went to bed frustrated, and wakened in the morning with the answer in their heads. Many studies have been made to show that this is the basic creative process. When Edison was looking for a wax for his new phonograph records, all the available waxes were either too hard for the engraving needle or too soft. He set his longtime associate, M.A. Rosenoff, to the task of finding a suitable wax. Rosenoff worked for over a year without results, but with dogged persistence, the project was more difficult than he'd expected, and the frustration was building. That sounds like life, doesn't it? Then it happened. On a Sunday evening, I lay on my couch with a headache smoking cigarettes, because you know cigarettes always help headaches, right? I tried to keep my mind a blank, but after a year or more of being held down to my problem by Edison, I could no longer shut out the waxes, even in my sleep. And suddenly, through headache and daze, I saw the solution. But the first thing the next morning, I was at my desk, and half an hour later, I had a record in the softened wax cylinder. It was the solution. I think what this tells us is that if we remain convinced that there is a solution, it will appear. If we remain convinced that life is for us and there's a way forward, the path will appear. If we remain convinced that this desire is in my heart, therefore I must be able to or capable of doing it, then the means will show up. We give up really easily. Right? We're traveling and we don't make that last turn in order to see our destination. We just stop. Or somebody tells us to stop. Or the process of promotion at work seems to stop us. Or the relationship that we're in seems to hold us back. But the real truth is that as long as we know it's possible, as long as we are convinced that what I'm looking at or for is part of my life, if not right this minute, then it's coming. With the same assuredness that we say to ourselves, the sun is going to come up tomorrow morning. Right? I'm sure there'll be some day in the far distant future when the sun doesn't come up in the morning, but I doubt it anytime soon, right? I can feel sure that tomorrow will come. And if I know with that kind of surety that my dream can be realized, that promotion can be had, that next relationship will blossom, then the way in which it happens doesn't matter. I'm just ready. I'm ready. And I believe long enough to allow it to show up. Okay, 1 to 4. 2. Page. There is no difference between the prayer and what it does. We don't hold thoughts because creativity is immutable, and you can't stop that which is continuous and everlasting. In other words, you can't hold the wind in your hand. Relax and let it happen. Our attempts to force too much defeat us. The more you strain, the harder it is. We think it's the opposite, right? The harder it is, the more you strain. The more you strain, the harder it is. This talk of November 18th, 1958 enforced this conviction. I sometimes think that Dr. Holmes bounced ideas off me for my reaction. I was under the impression that he thought that if I needed it, everybody else did. This is written, compiled by George Bendall, who was a contemporary of Holmes. One moment. One moment. We are talking about two things only, which must suppose something back of them. Perception supposes a perceiver, but we are talking about the perceiver and the thing perceived as being equal, identical, and interchangeable. I suppose, as Einstein said, energy and mass are equal, identical, and interchangeable. He did not say that energy operates on mass. We do not say that spirit operates on matter. We're not making something happen. We're not asking for something we have to push out, something we have to make happen. If I just think the right way or concentrate hard enough, it'll happen. It's not like that. It's not about the strain and effort. He did not say energy operates in mass. These things are what he didn't say. He didn't say energy operates on it or in it. He said it is it. We are the spirit that creates. We are the creators as well as the creation. If the universe is something other than a thing of thought or a movement of intelligence, okay, this is Holmes at his best. We're going to skip this sentence. It's one of those circle things, you know. Our whole theory is based on the fact that the universe is a living universe, that it is an intelligence operating as law, that the law of its operation is the movement of the intelligence within it and upon it as it. We are the expressions of the creative process of life. Not just in what we pick out to wear someday, but in the actual expansion of how we live our lives and what we create in the world and how we help each other and that intricate web that we are all a part of that sometimes we're aware of. We're all of it. I like the image of a kaleidoscope, right? You all had kaleidoscopes as kids, right? Little tube with little colored glass in the end, and you held it up to the light, and as you turned the end, all the little colored pieces would tumble around, and there were mirrors in there, and it would make these beautiful patterns. What if you're not just the person holding the kaleidoscope? What if you're also all the pretty colored rocks? What if you're also the mirror that reflects back into the world what you're seeing, what you're appreciating, what's being reflected in you, through you, as you? And so is everybody else. We're always moving, creating these new patterns. And what we forget is that we have something to say about the patterns that we that we create. We have something to say about the connections that we make. We have something to do with how beautiful it is or isn't. And a lot of that has to do with our remembering that we are also the perceiver. We're the one looking. Are we looking up towards the light, or are we trying to look at the kaleidoscope in the dark? It's not the same. But it is our choice. It is something we have control over. Which is a lot easier than Ernest Holmes talking in circles. He didn't mean to talk in circles. That was just a gift he had. That and absolutely not believing in punctuation. Okay, 1 to 4. Got time for a couple more. 3. And a page number. 51. What, it doesn't have a 7 in it? Okay. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is talking about Quimby doing his healing activities with people. And Quimby got to the point realizing that he didn't really need mesmerism, but that the way he thought in his mind would affect the way the person reacted. In other words, he did the work in himself, which is what we train our practitioners to do. You do your prayer work so that you know the truth, which means it's true for whoever you're praying for as well. So here's what he says. All persons who have ever tried any experiments in mesmerism know that the subject is very sensitive and will taste or smell what the mesmerizer does. The fluids equalize in the mesmerizer, the hypnotist, and the mesmerized, the client, and their taste is as one, precisely as two instruments are brought to accord with one another by the performer. On this principle, diseases are conveyed from one to another. In today's language, we might say that when the vibrations are equal between two objects or two people, they will harmonize with each other, right? You've all heard the example of that you strike a guitar string in a music store and all of the instruments will vibrate at the same frequency. Well, as above, so below. We all vibrate at the same frequency, which is why you come together to be in a group like this to vibrate at a little bit higher level, because sometimes some of the people you hang out with are weird. Or you're weird and you need to be brought up. Now, as these fluids are under the control of the mind, it is very necessary that a person should know how to govern them so that they shall not get the mastery of the mind and bring the persons into the same state that Paul was in when he said that the spirit wars against the flesh. In other words, you don't want to harmonize at the lower level, right? You want to get at the frequency of the person who's bringing everything down. You want to make sure that you know yourself well enough to come up to what's being offered, or to be the one offering the higher perspective, the higher vibration, the higher consciousness. So we do our own work, right? We do our own spiritual work to stay clear on what else is true. Yes, this activity of my life, this trauma, this drama, whatever it is true in my day-to-day living. But what is also true is the overarching power of love, the overarching power of peace, the vibration of compassion and kindness. Let me bring that into the room. Let me bring that to the table. Let me bring that higher sense of life with me wherever I go. Let me bring my joy into any situation, bring my light into any conversation so that we might all rise. And this is not a reason or an excuse for making someone lower or less than you. This is not a way to say, well, I'm better because I'm so much more consciously evolved. Yeah, if you say that, you're not, just so you know. But it is a way to remind ourselves that we have something to say about this world that we live in, even if it's just our little piece of it right here. And I choose to be part of that which rises up, that which brings light, that which brings love, that which expresses kindness, that which has the patience to listen when somebody's talking crazy. Crazy in my opinion, maybe not crazy in theirs. Maybe I should listen and find out. This is something we all do. This is something we all practice. This is why we're here. It's one way of loving each other. And on that, we will close. Namaste. Let's take a moment in prayer, shall we? Pausing to breathe in and allowing ourselves to remember, to realize that all that life is right here, in me, as me, through me, between us, around us, within us. All the love, all the peace, all the joy, all the wisdom is right here, within and without. And that this life of wisdom, this life of love, this life of peace is my life now. And it is the life of everyone. And so I speak my word for striking that high note, that ultimate frequency that brings harmony to those around me. I speak my word to bring that light of love into every place I go, so that it might be seen by others and that I might recognize it in others. For there is truly a web of life of which I am a part. There is truly a life of balance and order, a life of peace, the possibility of art and beauty and creation. And I celebrate this. I celebrate this life wherever I see it. In someone's eyes, in the dinner that they make or the art that they produce, in the words that are said or the words that are left unsaid, I see God. I see good. I trust and know that life is for me and that I am open and willing to see and express this life in its highest form possible. I trust and know that all that I do is meant to guide and guard each and every one I meet into that greater light, that greater expression of love, that greater place of peace. And how grateful I am for all those around me who seek the same, and even those who do not know. For each and every one is an opportunity for me to love, for me to shine a light, for me to bring joy. And as I do so, I too am uplifted. And I am grateful. Grateful for every gift that life has, even those I do not understand. Grateful for every person in my life, even if I do not understand them either. For I know that in this web of life, we are all wanting the same thing, seeking the same joy, finding the same good that is right just for us. And so blessing this experience of life as I understand it and even as I don't. I trust and know that it is all good, therefore it is all God. And knowing this, I am at peace, and so it is. Fun, yes? All right. We have an affirmation which you will find in your program. I invite you to repeat after me. I allow my curiosity to keep me open to a greater understanding of life. Possibilities abound. And so it is. All right, let's have a little more music, shall we? Welcome back to Jackson's.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see all of you. I'm when
That's
you
good, I
finished
did my
when
job.
she finished speaking, I found myself so far back in my chair. I was going back through the back of my chair. Talk about mesmerized.
Oh, thank you.
Wow. I was just thinking about all of the things that I'm going to carry with me this week to think about. After listening to that was incredible. Anyway, and it made me wonder about this song that we had picked to do. This is a special day. Okay, it's a special day. We have just celebrated a holiday, gotten together with family, and we're about to have what I think is like a picnic. Maybe it's indoors, but it still seems like a picnic to me.
Yep.
Anyway, this is a song of connection. Okay, and I don't know if you'll see the connection. I'm pretty sure you will. But how many of you were ever 10 years old? Okay, and some of you were probably 11 also.
Yes.
Anyway, okay, so this is a song, and it starts out with a thought of, okay, when I was a kid, okay, and summer would come and you were waiting for school to get out. It was that last day. Okay, and you're sitting there, and they didn't have air conditioning.
No.
You know, so you're sitting there and you're watching this clock, tick, 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 you know, waiting because summer vacation is coming. Okay, and thinking about the things that you might do this summer. So this is my vision of that, and hopefully it touches on some of your visions of that. This is called Summer Wonders. Well, we sat there in the classroom as the minutes slowly passed, waiting for that bell that meant summer's come at last. We all started out in autumn, the weather turning cold, and I would dream about the summer and the fun that it would hold. Summer wonders down at the swimming hole, vacations with the family, oh, the places we would go. Sometimes we would go camping and we'd sleep beneath the stars. Sometimes I'd put a tent up and we'd sleep in our backyard. Having fun isn't hard when you're young at heart. There were picnics at the beaches, and our skin would turn so brown. We'd play baseball in the vacant fields. Our friends were all around, and his summer's now past, and our kids, they all have grown, and now summer's even better, 'cause the grandkids come along. You know, the youth is just perception. I was only 21. Now I'm past my 60s and the fun is just begun. If I live to be 100, I'll be grateful every day for each moment that I got to spend enjoying summer days. Little musical interlude. Summer wonders down at the swimming hole, vacations with the family, go the places we would go. Sometimes we would go camping and we'd sleep beneath the stars. Sometimes I'd put a tent up and we'd sleep in our backyard. Having fun isn't hard when you're young at heart. Having fun isn't hard when you're young at heart. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, that's so fun. I have a nephew who spent, at the age of, I think, 13, he decided he didn't really want to live at home, but there really wasn't anywhere to go. So he put the tent up outside his bedroom window in the front yard and figured out how to run a power cord. So he had his video games and he had his private room and he took all his meals out there, and, you know, for 3 or 4 months he lived outside. It was great. So totally appreciate the tent in the backyard. It can be a wonderful thing. So your call this week then is to figure out how you're going to have some real fun. All right? I want to hear about it next week. Figure out how you're going to have some real fun. All right, so let's take a moment of appreciation and contribution, if you will. All the things that we do together are supported by you and your giving. So if you will, say with me our prosperity affirmation and remind yourself just how good life is together. Ready? Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am prosperous now. Your gifts today, if you're in this room, there is in a basket in the back of the room. And then if you're online, we've got a donate button online you can do. Or I don't know if you remember, but we said a few weeks ago, we set up a little text to give. So there's cards on the back table with the phone number that you can text to and make your donation that way. So if you are on summer vacation, you're still supporting your beloved spiritual community. So it's here when you get back, yes. And we also have the ability to donate online. You can go through PayPal and make a regular donation. You know, we're like so with it. We like have so many ways to just enjoy our abundance together. So thank you all for all that you contribute. I also want to take a moment and thank the people who have set up for us next door. Many of you haven't seen it yet, but we're looking good. So if you helped yesterday get things set up, will you stand, please? Come on, come on. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Just a reminder, the room doesn't always look like that. It only looks like that when we do something to make it happen. So thank you all for volunteering. All right. We have a couple more announcements. So thank you, first of all, to Chris McDowell for donating our flowers for today. Reminder that our classes are continuing, Discovering Who I Am. If you haven't joined and want to join after the potluck, that's a possibility. And we have another class coming up that'll start in the middle of next month called Spiritual Principles and Practices. This is a great way to take what we talk about and do some exercises over the weeks to figure out how to make it work in your own life. So information, flyers, and everything's on the back table for the classes. We have a weekly writers group on Thursday mornings at 10 here in the chapel, led by Brad Weathern, our practitioner. Brad is a published author. And there's also a flyer on the back. There's an article that was in the Science of Mind magazine. Some of you may not know, but Brad used to do presentations as Ernest Holmes. And he has the voice to do that. And the article was about presentations that he had done personifying Ernest Holmes. And it's a great read. So if you want to grab that and take a look at that and something maybe you didn't know about him. All right, we've got dance classes continuing on Tuesday nights and Wednesday nights. Information on the back table. And, oh yeah, we got a couple of things coming up in the future. August 17th, we have a concert with these guys from 4 to 6. Hear a little bit more of their music. Rock out. Tell your friends, please. Information will be forthcoming with details, but no, just save the date, August 17th from 4 to 6 here at the center, and we'll get you more information as we have it. We also have another celebration coming up on Sunday, the 28th of July. That's in a few weeks, and that is celebrating our very own Diane Clemens. Oh, yes. Diane Clemens is officially a practitioner emeritus. That means she has been serving our community for over 20 years and is recognized as a lifetime member. She doesn't have to renew her license anymore. We figure after 20 years she's kind of got it by now. So we will be having a presentation during service, including all of our practitioners, and a celebration afterwards. So you'll want to make sure that you're here on the 28th of July because, everybody loves a party. And there will be or is a sign-up sheet in the back. We're going to ask people to RSVP so we know how many people to plan for. But we would love to have you come celebrate Diane with us. Yes. Okay. Reminder, social media. There are a couple of you who are just so good at clicking those likes and sharing stuff. And I don't know what the rest of you are doing, but you better get on it, man. Because you see, every time you click like or love or put a smiley face on it or make a comment, you up our algorithm, which means you up the exposure we have to the greater community, to your friends. Some of your friends need us, right? There are friends of yours that really need this. So the more you put on your own social media through those clicks and comments and likes and sharing, the more we get out there in the world, the more they'll see that, hey, we're the fun people and this is where they really should be. Yeah? Okay. All right. What else? Thank you to those of you bringing in food donations. We must have a Reiki coming up.
July 20th at 2 p.m.
July 20th, 2 p.m., Reiki here in the chapel. It's a fabulous, energetic healing process that you just can't, you walk in the room and you already feel better. And then it gets even better when it's focused on you. So plan on that. That's the third Saturday, right, of every month? Third Saturday of every month, 2 o'clock. Okay. All right, so where's Drac? We're skipping coffee here, right? We're going straight over. All right, so it's potluck time in Holmes Hall. That's where we're going next. And anybody have anything else? There will be coffee. There will be coffee, yes. We will still have coffee and food. All right? Okay, so let's stand up, move to the walls, and let's sing.
Take a look at the person next to you and say, God loves you and I love you too. Now feel the love in